Hello, this is Jamie Maggart. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'm going to show you how I made this card. So let's get started. I'm using Loyal Leaves. I'm going to use this stamp and this stamp from there. And then I wanted to make it, it needed a sentiment down here as well, so I brought in this Have a Beautiful Day from Beautiful Autumn. Okay. And then I'll show you everything else. Alright. I have two pieces of Whisper White, which are 4 by 5 1/4. One for the outside, one for the inside. I have a piece of black, which is 4 1/4 by 11, scored and folded at 5 1/2. I just did something a little bit different this time. Those are my card bases. I have a piece of Real Red, which is 3 by 5 1/4, and I've run it through the Scripty 3D embossing folder. I don't know if you can see that. I had a bunch of scraps of Real Red, and that's how I came up with this card, because I wanted to try and use some of my scraps. Okay. Then I have, well, let's do these ones first. 2 ovals. This one is the largest of the stitched shapes ovals, and I cut it out of Whisper White. This one is the largest, yeah, I think it's the largest of the scalloped layering ovals, and that one I cut out of black. Okay, so I need those 2 pieces there. This is a strip. It's a 1/2 inch. I'm just going to stamp the sentiment and flag the ends. This piece, these were cut from this die here from the Ornate layers. It cuts this rectangle, and I just cut these little strips off, and then you're going to need to cut off the last, let's see, I cut it in half first, and then if my paper had been 5 1/2 instead of 5 1/4, it would have worked fine, but I need to cut this last little bit off here. So you can either just cut it straight across like this. I just snipped this corner so it didn't stick out in case. So cut off this last circle, and then I clip that off, okay? So I got those 2 little pieces there. Let's put all this aside, and then I have a bow, and this is just some ribbon that I had in my stash. It's from Christmas ribbon. I think I got it at Michael's or Joann's. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is bring in one of my 4 by 5 1/4 inch pieces of Whisper White. The only inks I'm using is Real Red, Tuxedo Black for the sentiments. Okay, so I'm going to bring in this leaf, the Real Red ink. And I want to stamp on this edge. So I'm going to ink up my leaf. Let's make sure it's got ink on it everywhere. And I'm going to stamp off the page. That's why I have a scratch paper underneath. So I'm going to stamp it once, full strength, move it, stamp it again, 2nd generation. And I'm going to do that down here at the bottom as well. Stamp it, and stamp it again. Okay, now I'm going to bring in the oval. Stamp that right in the center. Okay, I'm done with the red ink. Now I'm going to open the memento. And with Older and Wiser, I'm gonna ink that up. And this is a solid stamp, so the first few times you use it, you might have to stamp it a few times to get it to take the ink completely. Don't get any residues off of it. Alright, and I'm going to stamp that right in the center. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to bring in this 1/2 inch strip and this sentiment. Go ahead and stamp that. Okay. Sorry about the noise. My husband's home because he had a heart attack last week or the week before. So he's making sure the generators are running. Now I'm going to flag these ends. Going to snip up the center, 1/4 from each side. Okay. Now we can layer our card. First thing I'm going to do is layer this on top of my scalloped oval. Go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and use my Tombow. I haven't used it yet today. Hope it works. Oh yeah. Center that up on the scallop. Beautiful. Okay. Now on the back of this one, I'm just going to put a little bead of glue here right along the edge. I'm just going to do one side at a time. And I'm going to layer this scallop right next to it. I want it to be I want the stitching to show, so it's just to the edge of the stitching. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'll do the same thing on this side. Awesome. Trim those just a little bit different, must be, because it's alright. I'll trim these to match. Maybe not. I don't want to mess up the corners of my paper. Alright, let's just leave it. Alright, let's bring in this piece. And I'm going to bring in my center, my inside piece. And this piece I didn't clean off yet from stamping this. So I'm just going to breathe on it. Use the residual ink that's on it. And stamp that right in the center. So we have something to put on the inside of our card. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in this piece. That's going to get mounted, centered on the front of the card. This piece will get mounted on top of that. It's just going to have a little bit of white on this side showing. Just make sure your words are right side up. There we go. This piece I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of. Center that up here at the top, side to side, and the space here and the spaces here are about the same. Okay. I'll bring in my sentiment strip and I'll put dimensionals on the back of it. Just use up those little bits. Okay, put this down here. And I'm going to add my bow with a glue dot right down here at the bottom. And there's my card. There's the card we just made together. Here's the one I did previously. I think on this one I put these on first and then I trimmed this down to 5 1/4 inches. So that might work better, so you get this going all the way to the edges. But, well, thank you for joining me at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you can find a little bit of time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.